We wanted to celebrate our donors without any strings attached. Really often that you have the ask cultivation cycle, which has recognition in it. We wanted to take a step removed from it and create a space that was pure gratitude. And that was what inspired the tone for this iteration of the campaign.
Welcome to the EverTrue Innovators Podcast, where we meet the innovative voices behind the ideas moving fundraising forward.
Keith, question for you.
Hannah, hit me.
What happens when you thank donors just because?
Tara Maritzer from Habilitas joined us today to share how a pure gratitude campaign led to higher retention, more giving, and yes, even a little Montreal bagel talk. Tara, I would ask for you to please introduce yourself and then also tell us a little bit about the organization itself.
Absolutely. So I am Tara Maritzer, and I am honored to be the employee representative for the Habilitas Foundation, who received this amazing innovator award. In short, the Habilitas Foundation is a foundation that raises money and grants to Montreal-based organizations, survey people of all ages living with physical disabilities and sensory impairments. Our largest partner is the Lethbridge Leighton Mackay, which has a little over 3,500 clients of all ages with a variety of impairments that receive care and support.
I thought one of the coolest things that's a part of your organization, the camp.
Massawippi, yes.
Massawippi.
Camp Massawippi is out near Stansted, Quebec, and it is a respite camp for youth who have physical and sensory impairments. We also support a day camp, which takes place in the city of Montreal. The camp is a very special place, and one of our grant partners, in addition to under LLM, we have the MAB Mackay Rehabilitation Center, as well as the Constance Lethbridge Rehabilitation Center, Camp Massawippi, and the Action Center.
Well, you support an amazing cause, and you certainly do live in an amazingly beautiful city with very, very good food. I can personally attest to that.
Montreal bagels.
Oh yeah, we actually have in Brooklyn. There's a pretty, I think it's Manhattan too, but Black Seed Bagel is a Montreal style bagel shop. Not only do they partner with Black Seed Bagels on a lot, but they do Poutine Month, and then it's every week they have like a special poutine, and they get very creative with them.
Yes.
But they're very good, and Black Seed is also very delicious. So I can respect those bagels too. With all bagels.
From a New Yorker, it really feels lovely to hear that concession.
I've had bagels also for the last 4 days in a row. Probably for my health, it's time to move on, but that's okay. I'll get some protein in there eventually. Tara, before we dive into questions about your award-winning campaign, we love to ask a bit of a warm-up question, and it is, what is one piece of conventional wisdom about stewardship or fundraising that you secretly disagree with?
To me, fundraising events are very transactional in nature. The galas and the golf tournaments, they're really expensive, time consuming, and they don't usually deliver on their ROI. They can feel quite disconnected from the cause. A lot of event attendees are more coming for the social experience, getting to meet and network, and not so much the mission, the cause. They might never donate again or volunteer or even really know what the organization does that they're attending this event for. Now, not to say that a good charity can't find a way for them to connect, to learn and experience. Lots of causes do some really special things. One that I read about was Charity Water, who at their galas had all of their attendees use VR headsets and watch a video where they were in one of the villages that they were building the wells for. So that does help to strengthen that connection a little bit. It's very special place at Habilitas that we have managed to step away from hosting these transactional events and actually focused instead on relational events, donor appreciation events. If I can wrap it up in a pretty little bow, my controversial word is that the path to fundraising growth isn't really more events, it's more meaningful relationships.
I love leading with gratitude for an event as opposed to leading with a fundraising goal. I think it's totally true. And I do wish more organizations would spend the time to steward in person without necessarily just fundraising as you described. Hopefully they'll be inspired to do so.
Well, they could use your amazing software. ThankView is built around gratitude, and using this platform as an online way to engage people who can't physically come. When you're a foundation with a worldwide or global supporting network where you can't necessarily meet up in person, here is this great virtual software that could potentially connect you.
Well, I think that's a great segue into talking about this campaign and the work that you've been doing and why we're here today. Would love to hear more about the campaign overall. It was purely stewardship with no ask or agenda. It was just really focused on heartfelt recognition. So can you share about what inspired you and the team to take this approach? I would love to hear more about where it originated.
So while this was the first year we used the ThankView software, it was not the first time this type of campaign was done. In previous years, there was a postcard sent out with a little personalized note about the milestone year someone had. But in reflecting on what the purpose of the program was, in order to embrace technology a little bit more, we wanted to try and find a new way to thank them. Our database analytics and looking at the segmentation shows a very strong pattern of giving based on loyalty. We wanted to celebrate our donors without any strings attached. It's really often that you have the ask cultivation cycle, which has recognition in it. We wanted to take a step removed from it and create a space that was pure gratitude. And that was what inspired the tone for this iteration of the campaign.
Yeah, someone that ThankView has worked with in the past who has imparted some of their philosophy onto us was Lynn Wester, the donor relations guru. She really pushes a lot of organizations to consider reaching out to, stewarding, and thanking donors regardless of gift size. That is something that you've done, which is just a wonderful thing to do. It really does align with a lot of the philosophy that we love at EverTrue too, recognizing long-term donors regardless of gift size. So my question for you is, was that always the plan? Did it evolve as you started mapping out the campaign and started digging into the technology that is ThankView?
Well, truthfully, it's a part of our culture, the culture of philanthropy that Habilitas has worked so hard to steward, is to have the belief that people are giving to their capacity. The $10 donor is giving as much to them as the $100 donor is giving, and focusing more on the people for their active giving rather than the amount. You never know what someone's future capacity could be in leaving a legacy gift one day, which could have far-reaching impacts.
Is there anything about the scalability of ThankView that made it easier to thank a larger group of people, regardless of gift size, versus having to maybe choose because there's only so much hours in the day?
It definitely made things a little bit easier to be able to separate from only the staff having to do that thank you, like with the postcards. It was something that always had to be done internally in printing, creating, and designing, whereas using the ThankView software, we were able to get other people more involved. Collecting the videos using the video request campaign, wherever people felt most comfortable to record, was something we could do that helped to expand the number of personalized level that we were able to do. It was really to every individual, dear Dave, dear John, dear Jane. It was very cool to utilize the software to build that relationship. And not just with the foundation staff, but the people who are in our social circle, the stakeholders.
So you brought in board members, committee members, and some of the rehabilitation staff to deliver these messages. Can we talk about the logistics of that, how it was coordinated, and why you felt it was important that those voices be featured in these?
So the technology made it easy to collect videos with the video requests if people were comfortable. We had reached out to frontline staff, people that worked at the various rehabilitation centers we do support, who use the money, our leadership, as well as volunteers to speak directly with the donors to make their gratitude feel truly authentic. Habilitas Foundation has something called a philanthropy committee. So this committee's role is to help them stay connected to the cause and support the culture of philanthropy. So in addition to being asked to make videos like this, we also do something called a thankathon, which, like, instead of a phone-a-thon, is an evening of gratitude where we call as many donors as possible to say thank you, and they help support that donor appreciation event that I had mentioned earlier. But a little bit of a drawback is not everyone is comfortable with this kind of technology, especially some of our older supporters. So in those cases, we would organize to record with them. I'd bring my phone or a little camera with a prompter so that they could read. Given the network that the Habilitas Foundation works with, there is a fair group of people that are not able to access your software. Someone who is fully blind and uses certain technology overlays, the software isn't really well suited to that. One of our supporters that is fully blind, has been using services at the center for many years, wanted to get involved and be able to do that on his own, but was unable to. So we went to meet him where he was most comfortable and record the video so he could say thanks to someone who has been giving for nearly as long as he's been getting services.
I'd love to dive into the videos themselves. Thank you in advance for sharing some of the links to the videos so that we'll be able to share them out to folks who are listening and who may be checking us out via the podcast, YouTube, or success story on the Innovators page and on EverTrue's website. What I'd love to know about the videos is, how did you personalize the content for each milestone group? And was there any coaching, scripting, or just maybe walking through what you were hoping to achieve with the folks recording themselves before they received the request or sat down with you to record?
So because we were jumping into this new methodology, we only did a selection of giving milestones. Last year, we did 20 years of giving, 25 years, 30 years, and 35 years, and tailored the messaging accordingly. It took quite a while to review all of the data and determine which donors were truly at these milestone years of giving. There was a big discussion around qualifying the people that we're going to be sending the videos to, and then trying to aim for a heartfelt and sincere video. We did write up a guideline of how to film, how to set yourself up in your home or office, wherever you were, to be able to record the video. We gave a few iterations of a script, longer or shorter, but we encouraged those who were recording to speak from the heart. We wanted each video to feel like a personal thank you and not a mass message. Some people stuck closely to the script and others really spoke from their heart, and it made just such a wonderful mix to donors who gave them. We did also be a little bit conscientious about who was getting what video. So when a frontline staff person was going to record the video, we made sure to avoid giving them someone who had received care at the center. And to maintain the privacy of the donor data, the video recorder just got the number of years the person was giving and their first name. So David, 20 years, or John, 35 years. And only pieces of information that they absolutely needed to include in their video. The rest of it was pure suggestion, and some really special things came out of them.
And did you send any fake plans to increase the ambiance in these videos? Very serious.
I absolutely should have.
Fair enough.
I am a terrible plant mom. I have one plant that was given when I moved in July, a housewarming from my organization, and it is the only thing that is still alive right now. All of the rest of my plants have unfortunately succumbed.
Oh, that's fair. The secret is you keep replacing some of them with very convincing fakes. So there's a mix. So if it looks like one is dying, it makes all the rest look much more realistic. That's my move.
That is very clever. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, Keith.
Of course, anytime.
I just have to interject with this quickly because this was a big thing a couple years ago when I had purchased many fake succulents and placed them around our apartment. And probably like 5 or 6 months later, I caught my boyfriend watering all of them.
Oh my goodness.
And he was like, well, I've been keeping them alive. I was like,
He must have been
But
so
it made
proud
me-
of himself too.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
he was
amazing.
like, oh, well, like you never, I've just been doing this. Like, I'm surprised you didn't notice. And I was like, well, it's because they haven't needed any help. Very convincing. And I was pretty proud that I found ones that even tricked him. Took the little spray bottles because they were like really little. So it was like little spray bottle and like a little teapot. It was very involved. So anyways,
Wow.
it was great. Thank you for going on that little detour with me. I totally forgot about it until just now.
It's always fun to follow on the journey wherever it leads.
Yes, exactly. Well, just jumping back into the videos and messages that were shared, were there any favorites that really stood out to you, sentiments, messages that you really thought stood out in this process?
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at all of the videos, because we sent out over 90 videos last year, I narrowed it down to 3 example ones that I have here to share. So the first one is a very gracious volunteer of ours whose daughter receives services. She took the time out of her daily life to record this video for us. Her daughter was there with her. You were able to see that connection and that extra layer of community that you're supporting. Number 2, one of our frontline staff, Dana, who's been working at the MAB Mackay Rehabilitation Center for a great number of years, sitting in her living room, taking the time to talk directly with someone who had been giving for so many years and give examples of what she had been able to utilize through the foundation and how connected she was to the cause, and thanking this person for their many years of support. And then thirdly, the gentleman I mentioned, Sheldon, who is completely blind, has been getting services for many years, and he felt was really important to be able to take a moment and say thank you for the 30 years that the gentleman that this video is supporting.
I'm excited to watch these because I feel like it's such an amazing way to make everyone feel very directly connected to what they are supporting in a way that is kind of difficult to do not being directly in person, but it's the next best thing.
Yeah.
As we're on Zoom right now recording this, just having that connection via video, being on camera makes such a difference. I'm excited to watch them.
Absolutely. Technology brings us together from the far reaches of the world. It's a blessing and a curse in so many ways to be able to talk, have these face-to-face connections, which really do elevate the connections you get with everyone.
We were discussing the power of connecting virtually, still being able to see a face, still being able to hear a voice. Quite a few donors followed up from the videos in person with you. We would love if you could share 1 or 2 of those stories of people coming to see you.
Yeah. Donor K, as our privacy screening says, happened to be passing by the office. He mentioned receiving the video, no prompting, no nothing, and said how much it touched him. It was so different and original to receive something like that. This gentleman gives to a lot of different organizations and said it helped Habilitas to stand out amongst the other causes that he donates to. And that's really what we wanted to do, to try and make someone feel that extra special and connect with the Habilitas Foundation, be able to think positively of us, not just when you're writing your check or right afterwards, but at a random time in the year. And just in general, the feedback for those who recorded the videos saying, wow, didn't realize this was going to be so easy. Can I have 10 more? This was fun. It was so cool to connect and speak and hear. Like I said, John had been giving for 30 years. Wow, this is such a special thing to be able to do. Can I do more of it? With the success of this campaign and the ease of being online, we want to do it again more yearly now. Those who did step up and volunteer to record videos in the first year are now ambassadors and telling other people around them it was easy, it was so fun, it was a great way to get to connect and give back. You should say yes and do it this year.
Thinking about the campaign and the success you've had, are you bringing it back this year? And if so, are there any new ideas you're excited to try second time around?
Well, we're definitely bringing it back. We did a statistical analysis of the work done last year and of the people who got their videos in 2024. 77% of the donors continued their loyal giving.
Great.
And of those, an 18% increased their gift, which is an amazing thing that came around unprompting. Like we said, this is a pure gratitude campaign. There's no expectations, no KPIs or ROIs based on it, but it's really cool and special. This is connecting donors with us and helping to inspire them to give. With the climate and the way things are now, if someone's got to tighten up their budget and they're not able to give as much as they might have, a campaign like this might help the Habilitas Foundation stand out when a donor needs to decide, where am I giving my funds to this year, because I can't give to the same level.
I think part of this, what you were saying of this approach, helps it stick out in people's minds that this is somewhere that they want to make their contribution to. So I think this kind of leads into talking about gift size. Obviously, there's the donors that make those larger gifts, but smaller donors are often overlooked. And you've alluded to this several times throughout this discussion so far, but many times smaller donors are overlooked when it comes to stewardship. What do you think you've learned throughout this process about the reactions from smaller donors, or maybe those smaller, more loyal donors that you think other teams should pay attention to?
The smaller donors are genuinely surprised and a little bit emotional when they get these sort of more personalized thank yous or gratitude stewardship pieces. Donors who give at the smaller amounts, like we said, they're probably still giving at their capacity, but they're giving because they believe in the cause. They're not giving because they're expecting perks or your name put on the side of a building. When you take the time to share how their contribution has helped, even in a modest way like the simple video like this, it helps to reinforce that stronger sense of belonging, reinforce what the foundation is doing with their funds, making them feel valued and heard. Acknowledgement doesn't have to be grand to be meaningful. I think that's really the key takeaway, is that these smaller donors are giving because it means something to them, and to respond in kind really helps. As we said, with doing this donor appreciation event, to the same extent, those who are giving at smaller dollar levels are also invited if they're in the local area. And some people are incredibly touched that their giving amount warrants an invitation to something like this, because a lot of bigger places that churn out a little bit more may not. Somebody called to say he's unable to attend, but thank you so much for inviting him. And it means so much to be offered the chance to do something like that. See their impact in action.
Talking about like the philosophy and mindset of stewardship overall for your team, how would you say all of your experiences with this campaign, this approach, has changed your team's mindset around stewardship, or the methods in which you do it with video communications?
So at the Habilitas Foundation, some of our values are love and stewardship. We hold these pieces very close to the heart. Doing the campaign like this is really us putting our words into action. It's a fun and easy way to keep people engaged in that philanthropy, to keep Habilitas Foundation at the top of mind with this warm feeling. People are going to remember how they felt. It helps take that step back from the transactional and reinforces the relational.
Yeah.
100%. The amount of address labels I still get from organizations that I donate to, I just don't send that much mail. I'm like, please save your money. You don't have to. Don't worry, I'm all in.
Well, that's great to hear. And you should probably tell them that, because that's why they're sending it to you, because they don't know. To lose any donor is impactful, especially nowadays. Getting direct mail is still a viable and strong revenue channel. Given how little mail people get, millennials and Gen Z especially, you don't get much. So when there's something addressed to you and it's not like the coupons for McDonald's, it's still exciting. It gives you a little butterfly. And even better when inside there's a strong appeal and a great story to connect to, or a piece of appreciation. It reinforces that in a different channel. Because so many donors are giving online and their donor journey stays online, trying to find different ways to build these strong relational touch points is an exercise. And so having the ThankView software and being able to build something like this to say thank you to the donors. We use your software a lot for our fundraising appeals to send out the thanks for those who have responded to the campaign in that ask, cultivate, steward cycle. But it's really fabulous to be able to use it as this standalone gratitude option as well.
Okay, so thinking about this specific campaign, focusing on milestones, if there is anyone out there listening or watching, another organization that is curious about doing a campaign like this, but might be worried about time dedication or resources involved, what advice would you give to that institution about how they could be as successful as you were?
I would start small and build momentum. You don't have to jump into a full-scale campaign right away. And even more importantly, you don't have to do it alone. You can empower your staff, volunteers, and board members to take part in that stewardship effort, creating that shared sense of purpose, spread the workload, and focus on gratitude, the core piece of what you're working on, and let everything else fall into place around it.
And then for teams who rely heavily on annual appeals or more reactive stewardship, what would the case that you would make for shifting to a more proactive based recognition like this?
The teams that rely heavily on the annual appeals and get stuck in the cycle of cultivate, ask, steward, ask again, doesn't leave a lot of place to have authentic engagement in between the ask. This leads to donor fatigue, lost retention rates, and missing opportunities to build deep connections. And this kind of milestone recognition helps to flip the script. Don't just reach out when you need something. Celebrate the donor for what they've already done, because they have done something for you. They've made an impact, and there is always space for gratitude. I think I'd said this before, but it's worth repeating that people remember how you make them feel more than what it was sent or what it was that was said. So campaigns like this, the milestone stewardship, adds a little surprise and delight to something that might feel transactional between the donor and the organization, which is a necessary evil, but something that we can help to supplicate with the little extra gratitude pieces that happen in the middle. And milestones can vary. It doesn't have to be you've had 5 years of giving, or 20 if you want to start at a particular point. It can start with one. It's the anniversary of your last donation. Here's what's happened in that year. When you made the donation, you might not necessarily have remembered that exact date or gave to a lot of different causes that year. This one has reached out to you to say thanks or to acknowledge and give that little surprise and delight.
Yeah. Well, Tara, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, for sharing your story, for sharing the ThankViews themselves, for the incredible work that you do, and for being so generous with your time. Congratulations on being an EverTrue Innovator.
Thank you so much. It's my sincerest pleasure to be here and hopefully be a little nugget of inspiration to others.
Tara, I have a question for you. It's probably, dare I say, the most important question that I'm going to ask in this entire interview. What is your go-to Montreal bagel order?
Personally, I am a St. Gator girl. Picked it up, stood in line, grabbed that fresh bagel, sit on the bench outside, and take a melt in your mouth bite.
And what kind of bagel? What's your preferred, like, on the outside?
I am a poppy seed girl.
Poppy, delicious.
Not that I would say no to sesame, but I am a poppy girl.
Yeah,
but you?
Love it. Very underrated. I feel like if we're going the traditional, so that would be lox, tomato, onions, and capers, usually on like an everything or a whole wheat everything. And then they'll do the ABC, which is the avocado, bacon, egg, and cheddar as well. And usually I would do that on a poppy or a sesame. So then a little half of both, and just so great.
Delicious.
Anna?
How about you? Are you
well,
bagel
this makes me
connoisseur?
sad because we just don't really have great bagel places around here.
Well,
I
that
want
should
all
inspire you to have a road trip up to Montreal so you can
I
experience
I am inspired.
bagels.
Yes. I am very inspired.
Everybody listening and watching this podcast is going to have to go out and get bagels.
Yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by Black Seed Bagel. Please
Yes.
go find us now available in